Hi, you're listening to Childless and Moving Onward. This is the place where we talk about thriving in life when you're a woman who is childless, not by choice, regardless of the road that brought you to childlessness. Welcome to episode 49 of Childless and Moving Onward. I'm your host, Gail Miller. Today I'm diving into a challenge many of us face. How to recognize that life can feel simultaneously breathtakingly beautiful and heartbreaking when you're childless, not by choice. So get cozy. This is for everyone figuring out how to navigate this messy middle of and. Now, I have a sign on my wall with a quote from L.R. Nost, and here it is. Life is amazing, and then it's awful, and then it's amazing again. And in between the amazing and awful, it's ordinary and mundane and routine. Breathe in the amazing, hold on through the awful, and relax and exhale during the ordinary. That's just living heartbreaking, soul-healing, amazing, awful, ordinary life, and it's breathtakingly beautiful. Now, admittedly, for many, the idea that it's breathtakingly beautiful can be hard to believe or even imagine. How can life without children be beautiful? But it can be if we learn to let it in. It's not the same as what you wanted. It's a different kind of beautiful, but it can be fulfilling. So let's start with a question. Can grief and gratitude occupy the same space? So think about how you've handled maybe the visitation if you lost a loved one, or if you went to visitation for somebody else's losing their loved one. Often at these times, there are stories told about the person who died. And very often, memories come up that make you smile or even laugh at the same time that you're shedding tears for this person who died. So yes, it's possible to feel the grief and gratitude or joy or all of it, all in the same space. And that is also possible for those of us who are living without children but don't want to be. Maybe you do appreciate being able to travel spontaneously or being able to pick up at a moment's notice to go on a hike or out to lunch. But at the same time, you feel the ache watching others become parents or grandparents. You might love your quiet Sunday mornings, being able to sleep in. But you also may be angry about the silence in your home. That's the art of holding two truths, where life is amazing and crappy. It's not a contradiction. Instead, it's an acceptance of the complexity of the pain of being childless by circumstance and not by choice. So it's possible to sob at a baby shower or even at just receiving the invitation. And later it's possible to celebrate a promotion. Both feelings are genuine. Both are valid. Both matter. Our brains can hold opposing emotions. It may feel impossible at times, but it truly is possible. It may feel like the grief will never give way to even a hint of joy, but it can. Grief and joy can coexist by intentionally creating space for both. It's a work. It's work. It doesn't happen naturally for most people. You have to work at being able to allow in the joy, to being able to see that you can grieve and experience happiness. But you need to allow yourself to feel the pain and be open to and welcome in moments of lightness. Through practices like mindfulness and gratitude, you can gradually transform the grief from a force that takes over your whole life, and from the viewpoint that that's always going to happen. You can transform it instead to a viewpoint that can coexist, that grief can coexist with happiness. But we have a cultural myth that life is either good or bad. And the other myth is that we should be striving to be nothing but positive. So the result is, if we feel any negative feelings, we start to think there's something wrong with us. Because of this either or thinking, we have the belief that nothing can coexist with grief. Now, wouldn't it be great if we turned against that false binary? So here's a common toxic narrative. You should be over it by now. No, actually, grief isn't navigated on a timeline. There's no deadline for it. Here's another one that I don't love that people say, but it irritates me. Everything happens for a reason. Really? What's the reason for all my medical bills? Someone may say for their chronic disease. Or the reason for the hospital bills for the hysterectomy that you didn't want, but was the only option you had. What's the reason for my partner deciding he or she doesn't want kids with me? Telling someone that everything happens for a reason is saying you deserved to have something crappy happen to you. No, you didn't. I was in that space of thinking I could only be happy or sad, and I thought there was something wrong with me for feeling sad. After all, we've been inundated with messages to just think positive. I had to change my mindset. First, to recognizing that all human emotions, or all emotions, are human. They're all normal. They're all valid. That life isn't just about the positive. I mean, think about it. If life was all 100% positive, would we even recognize that it's good without the contrast? Would we start to take it for granted and not even realize this is good, this is positive? When I move past the idea that life is only supposed to be positive, and that I need to forget about any negative thoughts, any negative feelings, when I move past this idea that there was something wrong with me for ever having uncomfortable emotions, the ones labeled by society as negative, then I was able to move on in life with both. Not one or the other, but both. What a difference it made to my well-being to be able to allow in the good and to see the uncomfortable stuff and see it as it's all part of life and a normal human experience. So here's a guide for navigating this. First is a both and journal. Every day, write one beautiful truth and one brutal truth. So, an example, today I cried as I planned a vacation that I had always imagined I'd take with my kids. That's the brutal truth. The beautiful truth, my flower garden is starting to bloom. Okay. So every day, write one brutal truth and one beautiful truth. So you start to see, read them back and see both can exist. How do you deal with a trigger? When a baby announcement comes up and that lump in your throat grows larger and larger, tell yourself this hurts. And I'm going to do, and then fill in the blank with something special you'll do for yourself that day. So start to work on combining the painful stuff that happens with a trigger or a challenging situation. When somebody asks you the stupid questions, why don't you have children? When are you going to have children? Don't you feel guilty for not giving your parents grandchildren? Start to pair up those situations and those feelings, the painful ones, with good ones. The painful feeling that comes with, oh, my friend just had a new grandchild, something I don't get to experience. And I pair it up with working on training with my dog and getting to see his pride, his excitement. I don't know if it's pride. My dog trainer would probably say, no, there's no such thing. But his excitement when he realizes he gets what I want. And now I know what sit means. So pair the painful with positive, and you'll see it can coexist. Recognizing the pain and beauty of life, living in the and of life isn't settling. It's part of life. No one gets through this life without loss. I mean, that's just a fact. We unfortunately have a unique, not worse than, not less than, but a unique loss that often is not understood by others, by society as a whole. But being involuntarily childless is a loss. But living with the and, that's rebellious. It's a rejection of society's either or narrative that says you can only be happy or sad. You can only feel fulfilled or lacking. And again, that narrative is even more harmful because the premise is that while we can only be either happy or sad, we're supposed to only be happy, only be positive. Embracing the beauty along with the crappiness means you're acknowledging the complexity of human experience. You're not simplifying your story to ease others' discomfort. Embracing the beauty and the crappiness together is a statement that you can hold the grief for the children that you never had alongside joy for the life you're creating. You can challenge the notion that your worth, our worth, is defined by a single aspect of our existence. It's not. Embracing the great with the crappy is saying, I won't shrink my life to fit your labels. Here's your permission slip. Grieve the birthday parties you won't be able to host and celebrate the adventures you will take. The world needs you. It needs your unique strengths and contributions. It needs your contradictory story that is truly breathtakingly beautiful. Remember, you're not broken for feeling joy along with grief. You're not an awful person because you allow happiness into your life. You aren't being disloyal to the child you dreamed of or to your own dreams. You are being human. All right, that's it for today. Except I'm going to leave with a toast to the messy middle, the and, the beautiful and the crappy. See you next week. Thanks for tuning in to Childless and Moving Onward. I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can stay up to date on everything I do by following me on Instagram at Childless Path Onward or on Facebook and YouTube at Path Onward. Until next time, thanks again.